I think this system here is so much better.
So nice, yeah. Good evening, everybody. We're going to get started here in a second. Welcome to January, or as we like to refer to it, New England May. Hopefully we get some warm weather here in the next week. So yes, this is the first meeting of, well, I guess we've had meetings in 2023, but for the 2025 fiscal year budget committee. So I want to welcome everyone. Specifically, I'd like to welcome our newest member, Charles Kelsey. Charles, welcome. Would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself. Okay.
No, I'd be happy to. First of all, I'm really excited to be part of the committee and look forward to working with everyone. My family's been in London for over 100 years or so. And recently my wife and I, Cynthia and I, moved here permanently 4 years ago now, and have a little house down on Little Lake Sunapee, which is my grandfather's old house. I spent a lot of time in corporate world of America, so I think I bring some value to the committee in terms of my experience, and I hope to be able to apply it in ways that you feel will be beneficial, and I'm delighted to be here. So, thank you.
Thanks so much. I'd be remiss if I didn't also thank, even though Joe's not here, Joe Cardillo for his time on the budget committee for the last, I know I've been, this is my technically 10th year. And so Joe's been here since I've been here. He's taught me a lot. And I just wanted to say thank you to Joe for his time. He's been chair, vice chair. He's helped a lot of members. He's, as we all know, passionate about this as well as many other things in town. So if he were here, I'd thank him personally, but thanks, Joe. All right. So with that, each of you should have an agenda in front of you, as well as two other sheets, one about the capital reserves and the workshop for June 7th or 14th. I know we're planning to talk a little bit about that. One thing I'd like to do is to move our agenda and actually approve the minutes from February 8th. And then we'll do the chair, vice chair, and then move forward with the rest of the agenda, if that's okay. So I know that John mentioned he had an edit for the February 8th meetings. We're looking forward to our edits from John this year.
Just one.
Yep.
Just one small one on page 6, the next to the last paragraph. It should be reserve payments were reduced this year instead of we. That's all.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other edits or questions on the February 8th minutes? All right. So it's customary. We'll take a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. All right. So we'll move to the next agenda item, which is electing a chair and vice chair. I'd like to begin, and actually, if that's okay, and I'd like to nominate Lindsay Harkins for chair. And the reason for that is I have a extremely busy work schedule this year, and I don't feel comfortable that I'd be able to fulfill my duties as chair throughout the rest of the year. Any seconds or discussion?
I would second nominating Lindsay.
I'll just real quick discussion. Thank you, Chris. I understand how much time you put into this, and after, I don't know if this is 9 years on the budget committee.
10. This will
10.
be 10.
Yeah, I laid out for one, but I appreciate the nomination, and I'll do my very best to be diligent and efficient.
So does that need to be second?
Lou seconded it, but I didn't know if anyone else was
Okay,
interested in being
that's fine.
chair.
Let's see. I'd like to nominate Colin Beasley.
Any seconds? Okay. So should we vote on Lindsay first? Nope. So we,
How does that work?
yeah. So would we, since we have two nominations, would we vote for Lindsay first?
Why
Since
don't
she's,
you do like all those for Lindsay?
I'll look to Kim for the,
So you have a motion on the floor and seconded, so I think you need to vote on that one first. And
Okay.
then, depending on how that goes.
okay. So all those in favor of Lindsay for chair of budget, raise their hands, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, all those opposed? So Melissa, did we catch you up that we are,
Hmm?
I would vote for Colin.
Oh, that would have been my second.
So what, I'm opposed.
okay, you're opposed. Okay, so we have 4 ayes. And Charles, are you opposed?
I think I should abstain. I have no basis to make a vote.
Okay, so 4 ayes. And 1, 2, 3, 4 opposed. So that's going to work out to 4 to 4 for both.
So what do you do to break it? What do you do to break?
Well, I don't know the candidates or the individuals to have an informed opinion, so I'm uncomfortable.
That's
You
that's
can-
fair.
You can just stay with the same chair. I mean, you can elect a chair at any time you want. You don't have to do it tonight. You can have.
Yeah, I'm happy
Each
to remain.
candidate can sort of
Well-
lobby for it over time and show how they would be a good chair. And then you can take a vote at a future time.
And I'm happy to remain chair until that time.
Right, let's do that.
So maybe next meeting. Mark's not, yeah, Mark was unable to be here tonight. Okay. So with that, I guess we'll also, well, we don't have a vice chair. So,
I'd like to nominate Chris Lauria for vice chair.
well, I don't know if I can hold both. Can I
Oh,
hold
that's
both
right.
at the same time?
So we'll just push that.
Yeah. We're gonna.
If we're gonna do it, if we're gonna put this vote off, it might be appropriate to do both of them together, I
Yeah,
think.
That's fine.
yeah.
Okay. I don't think we need a vice chair for now unless there's a legal reason we need it.
Mm.
Okay. All right, so we will wait till our next meeting, perhaps on the capital reserve meeting. Okay. All right, next topic would be selectmen's report.
Tonight, we talked a little bit about the Whipple Hall project. Rick Cross gave us an update on that. And then we discussed our priorities with regard to the wage survey and classification study that's a beginning. I noted that several of us visited the Broome property to look at for a possible police station. And then Kim went over.
Kim went over the information with regard to capital reserve funds. And so I guess what I would do tonight is ask you to decide if you would get together with the budget committee and the selectmen, or I don't know whether all the selectmen will be there to discuss the capital reserve funds. And the dates, let's see, what were the dates? June 7th or June 14th. Would you all be able to do that?
So the ask is,
To go over the capital reserve funds.
which are these?
You've got a list of it. It's been enumerated what they are, who can, whether we can pay, the selectmen can authorize them, or whether it has to go to town vote, that sort of thing. So it seemed that the budget committee was interested last year in the capital reserve fund. So this meeting would be to discuss that.
So it'd be, I think, John, I was at a select board meeting, and I think it's a working session that would allow us to define which of the capital reserve funds we want to keep as capital reserve funds, which we might want to turn into a different funding mechanism. Sort of some of those policy issues is where I understood it to be. But it's going to be a working session between the select board and the
In budget.
budget committee.
So I guess it's more around calendars. Right,
Yes.
so. I guess I'd ask budget committee members for your calendars for June 7th, 14th. I know I can't do the 14th. I'm away, traveling. So I'm unable to do that meeting, but I could do the 7th.
I'm good either day.
I'm good for the 7th or the 14th.
What time is this being proposed?
I'm guessing that it would be 6:30, the
Okay.
same as your normal budget committee meeting.
Melissa, how about you and
Yeah,
Hannah?
I'm good.
You're good. Okay. 7th. Okay, Lou, how about you? Okay. So it sounds like everybody's, I don't know about Mark, but I'm assuming perhaps,
Will there be some sort of an agenda published ahead of time so that we're not wandering from the beginning on this or?
Yeah.
so on the back,
Ah.
issues to address.
Backside, thank you. Yep.
All right, so it sounds like January 7th at 6:30.
June 7th.
June, sorry,
Right,
June
yeah.
7th at 6:30.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm still in January. Works for everybody. Okay. So any other questions about that meeting for capital reserves? If not, we'll move to schedule for the budget season. Colin?
So Chris, I just wanted to, it could be part of this item or perhaps other business, but some of the other topics that we had discussed last year that might offer up opportunities for some detailed analysis would be the software investments. We had a lot of conversations during the course of the year for that. Dispatch fees calculations, facility maintenance programs. There's a bunch of items that we talked about in that regard. So I wonder whether, as we think through our schedule and or how we address the budget, whether we can do some detailed analysis in those areas as well.
I guess I'd look back to the selectmen on those discussions. That to me seemed like obviously the department heads will be putting in their budgets, but to your point, we did talk about, or at least last year, for last budget season, it was discussed around the selectmen looking into things like software. So I just don't know where you guys are on that.
We haven't discussed the budget
Right.
at all.
Right,
Yeah.
okay, all right. So is that something that you're planning to do before we get the initial selectmen budget, before budget season?
I mean, I would think that we would go over all those things before we got together with you for budget, but I can't say for sure.
Okay, all right. And remind me, Cam, it's not until August that the department heads submit their budgets, right? Yeah, okay. So I don't know if that answers your question, probably not,
No.
but I think that's something that the selectmen need to discuss as a select group on what their philosophy is going to be, or
Can the budget committee have a discussion on it about its philosophies?
I think we can talk about it. I don't know if that changes the direction of what the department heads and what the selectmen do, but we can certainly talk about that.
Because technically the budget committee can prepare a budget that may or may not equal the select board's budget, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
We won't prepare it. We would
Oh,
alter it
Make
as it goes on.
recommendations, right,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, again, some of this may not be a one-year initiative. Maybe it's something that we plan out over 2 or 3 years, but when you take a look at the horizontal view of the budgets as opposed to a vertical view cross departmental, there might be opportunities for looking at savings. And I would almost wonder whether the budget committee, and I don't know, Kim, whether you can answer this question. Can the budget committee have subcommittees? Can the budget committee elicit experts to join us in working through some of these issues over a longer period of time?
Sure, the budget committee, you don't actually have a budget to spend money on experts, but sure, you can have as many,
Well, town volunteers,
absolutely. Oh, yeah, you can have subcommittees, and the budget committee has had subcommittees in the past.
they have,
Yep.
okay. So anyway, I think that we don't have to resolve it tonight, but I would ask that we all entertain thinking about some of the bigger picture items and whether or not we can initiate in parallel to what the selectmen are doing, some activity and share it with them, as opposed to waiting for them to share it with us.
Sure. I think also in our discussions with department heads, when we talk about that and timing, we can bring that up for each department and what they're thinking, especially, looking out 4 or 5 years,
Yeah.
what that looks like. Okay. Any other questions on capital reserves? So meeting schedule for budget season, does Wednesdays still work for everyone? I don't think we have to choose dates right now unless we really want to, but I would assume we would follow the same schedule as we did last year. Unless there were any thoughts on a different schedule. But typically we started in September, I believe. Met weekly or bi-weekly for a while. I'd have to go back on the dates, but and then go through. So
And I'm not sure if the selectmen are going to stay with Wednesdays. They currently meet the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month. They may switch back to Thursdays, but we'll have to see about that.
okay. So we can see what that schedule looks like and then determine the best dates and times. But we did meet at, so Charles, for you, we did meet at 6:30 typically. Sometimes they would go to 7:30, sometimes they go to 8:30 or a little bit later. So yeah, okay. All right. And then meetings with department heads and timing. So last year, especially for newer members, what we did is we allowed members to meet with department heads for each of the town departments. We would organize, we asked folks last year, which seemed to work well, to pick a primary and secondary that they wanted definitely to be a part of. Obviously, you could go to all of them if you wanted, but I kept a spreadsheet of which one, who wanted to be like primary for police or fire or highway department. And then we tried to have at least 2 members of a budget committee meet with each department head and kind of report back to the group. So unless we have a different idea of how you want to do it this year or different thoughts, if it didn't work well last year, I'm happy to keep that same schedule and reach out to each of you to see which departments you would like to be primary or secondary. And again, you're welcome to join every single one, and we'll try and time those with Kim out over the course of a couple weeks, so you have an opportunity to go to as many as you can, given schedules. Does that seem to work? Any other thoughts? Okay. Hannah, we're doing it. All right, other business. Any other business?
I just have one thought. Over the last couple of years, we've been getting 2 different views of the budget. One with the variance analysis done, the percent change, the other one without it. I propose that we just do the variance and save paper, not do both issues. Is that possible? We issue a lot of paper.
Right.
And the variance analysis, in my view, is the more important one because it allows us to understand the percent change year over year and the percent change over 5 years, as opposed to using one and having to calculate it ourselves. So I don't know if anybody has a bias, but I would think we want to save paper.
I like the variance changes on there myself.
That's fine by me.
Is that, Lynn, is that procedurally okay, or is that something you can do that? Okay, okay. Just save paper. I mean, go through so much paper here.
I mean, I guess it depends if you're printing it anyway for, you don't have to print it again for us, but I don't know what the selectmen for their budgets.
Right, what
Oh,
does it
that's a good
lose? Some
question.
of the historical?
It
I mean, we
loses
lose, we
some, yeah,
cut some columns off, so you lose.
It cuts off the 5th year budget column and keep the 5th year actual column.
So I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Okay.
One quick question, just to clarify some of the, maybe the rules of order for our committee. But the Board of Selectmen representative, when does that vote come into our proceedings here?
The selectmen's representative?
Yes.
Is a budget committee member, just like the rest of you.
Okay,
No difference. Well, the only difference is they don't run for the position. Their colleagues appoint them. But
Okay.
they're a full voting member, just exactly the same as the other 9.
and I'm not trying to put, I don't know, Janet, are you or is it BB or is
BB.
it?
BB is going to be the representative from the select board.
Okay, all right. No worries. I was just curious. I love Janet. Janet can stay there too. I don't care. I just want to clarify what the procedure was. And then also in regards to, I know we've talked about some subcommittees, but what are the bylaws as far as gathering together and discussing matters that pertain here to the public vote amongst ourselves?
If you have a quorum of the board present, it must be at a public meeting that's properly noticed.
Okay,
And I think most people who speak about municipal issues would say, even if there's 3 or 4 of you, and that's not a quorum, you want to be careful because of the way it looks to citizens. They think you're doing things out of the public eye, so I would discourage that.
so strategizing out of the public eye.
Right, because that
Okay.
all should happen in the public. You know,
Right.
your deliberations and getting information should happen in the public.
Okay,
What I can do also is resend out the right to know law. I can get that from Kim, Charles, especially for you. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but just around the rules for those types of things.
wonderful. Thank you.
Any other business?
Can I ask, as the new person, meetings with, well, first of all, I'm going to work with the assumption that everybody loves budgets. And department heads, I would assume, just think it's probably the best activity of the year. And not having been a part of this process, what meeting with a department head is one thing. I, as a new person, would go with a set of really questions just to gain understanding. But is there another role a member of the budget committee plays in concert collaboration with department heads? Or is it help me understand your budget, why, what for, versus what are you thinking? What are your challenges? What are the issues you're dealing with? Help me understand that time and how it's most productive for the department head and the budget
Yeah, so
committee representatives.
I think both of those are proper questions to have. So typically, I just remember as I was a new member, and Hannah, maybe you and Melissa can speak to it as well. That you know, department heads, as they put their begin to put their budgets together. One, they just give you a tour of the facilities, talk to you about, you know, what their budgets cover, all the items, you know, things from salaries to equipment, et cetera, right? And then to your point around what challenges are you facing currently or future, I think every department head has talked about that. And then you certainly can come in as a part of the budget committee and ask really any questions you have about their budget, right? Why are we spending this amount of money? Things like software, why are we spending $20,000 on software, or what are these licenses for, et cetera. So I think any question is up for discussion with the department heads, and they've been more than happy to discuss those with you.
Are there any parameters around what we don't get involved in? For example, if the operating budget of the town is, I'm guessing at these numbers, I don't have the exact, but I assume payroll is our largest expense. Does the committee, and as a member, do we get into discussion around staffing levels, FTEs, staffing patterns?
So
That
we would
kind
have a
of thing.
vote on the budget that the department heads would bring if they were asking for additional FTEs. Right? So if chief had another officer that she wanted to hire
Yeah.
full time,
Yeah.
she would bring that budget to us and the select board. And then we would vote on that budget. So we don't get to work with chief to determine if she needs an FTE, but we certainly get to vote on the budget that would go to town on, do we want to fund that FTE?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Do we as a committee establish, or do you, Kim, I'm naive in this respect,
Yeah.
parameters, goals for a particular fiscal year? i.e., we're going to have a cost of living increase of X%. I don't know if we have merit-based compensation. How is the merit base determined? Where are there pressure points or conflict points potentially around staffing levels? Where are there efficiencies? Are we looking for that? Or as what I heard you say, Chris, was if a department head wants an increase, will be asked, but do we ask for efficiencies that includes staffing that might be either a reallocation or reduction of FTE.
I would say that you're, as a citizen and a part of the budget committee, you should be able to go to any department head and ask those questions as they begin to formulate their budget. Right? So
Yeah.
nothing precludes you from going to chief to ask, as you think about next year, similar to your previous question, what are the pain points? What are you thinking about staffing? Right?
And my questions are directed at being productive.
Right.
And not spending time on things that are not productive or within the purview of the committee.
Absolutely.
So that's where I'm trying to.
Yep.
Gain a little better understanding.
Yeah.
And in spending time of anybody who's a employee of the town, I value and respect their time, so want it to be productive, I want it to be positive, I want it to be open, collaborative, and hopefully fun versus.
I'm happy to volunteer Kim as well.
Yeah, well,
She knows a lot of this stuff, so
okay,
and she's always there to answer questions for me, so it might be worth just talking to Kim about some of those questions.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
I'll-
And there are also budget workshops
Yeah.
that all members can attend, and they're pretty interesting too.
Okay.
But we can go over some of these
Sure,
points.
I'd
and-
love to,
Yep.
love to do. That. Thank you.
You got it. Yeah, absolutely.
Charlie, I would just add too that the budget committee, in the time I've been involved with it, has had its creative moments too. So I don't know if that adds to your parameters.
Any other business? Okay, any motions to adjourn?
So moved.
Any seconds? All those in favor? Aye. All right.